GenSpark Super Agent is designed for everyone, every day. If you're a marketer, find influencers and create engaging outreach campaigns. If you're a math teacher, visualize complex formulas in 3D. If you're a recruiter, compare candidates' LinkedIn profiles to find the perfect hire. If you're a tech enthusiast, turn a 5-hour YouTube interview into concise slides. If you're a designer, create St. Patrick's Day posters from Mercedes-Benz. If you're a music industry analyst, track global streaming patterns and write a report.
Wow, pretty exciting stuff, right? That's exactly what I thought when I saw some of their demos. And you can see the potential immediately. The speed, the way it seems to handle different tasks from research to creation, absolutely gets the wheels turning on what could potentially be automated or built out in our businesses. But let's be real. Are you struggling to keep up with the flood of new AI tools like this hitting the market? Feels like every week there's a new game changer, but figuring out which ones are actually useful for your business and not just hype is exhausting. Many founders and teams I talk to feel overwhelmed. They see the potential in these new AI agents like GenSpark and Manus, platforms promising to automate complex tasks and build solutions almost instantly. But it's tough to know where to start, how they stack up against each other or even against the big players like OpenAI that we are all familiar with. If we haven't met yet, I'm Johnny Nell. I spent years building businesses across multiple countries and industries, partnering with CEOs and founders just like you to help address the challenges of starting, building, and growing businesses. But I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to help you. Right now, growth with AI might feel like more stress, more complexity, and less time for what matters most. On this channel, I share a different way, a path to sustainable AI development, modern leadership, and creating AI teams and systems that work effectively and efficiently. In my experience, the future isn't about having the biggest teams. It's about staying agile, lean, and adaptable. So, in this video, we're cutting through the noise precisely because of that overwhelm. I'm going to walk you through two of the newest AI agent platforms that are making waves within the AI space. The first one is GenSpark AI and then Manus AI. We'll compare their core capabilities, see how they handle specific tasks relevant to our work, look at the crucial differences in features and pricing, and help you figure out if either is the right fit for your growth journey right now. So let's look at the official launch trailer, the entire pitch for GenSpark to get the full picture before we dive into the walkthrough.
Hey, I'm Eric from GenSpark AI. Today, I'm very excited to introduce the new GenSpark Super Agent, a fast and reliable general AI agent that can do everyday tasks for you. Let's see GenSpark Super Agent in action. I asked Super Agent to plan a 5-day trip to San Diego in mid-April. It starts by using the travel tool to access our travel datasets. It then uses a deep research tool to find public transportation options. Next, it decides to use the map tool to calculate distances between attractions. Here's the final itinerary, done in minutes. It accommodates all my special requests about public transportation, walking distances, and restaurant preferences. Now, I want the AI to book all the restaurants on this trip for me. Super Agent offers this Call For Me tool where the AI actually calls the restaurant with a human voice.
Please press 1.
Hi, Jillian. I'd like to make a dinner reservation.
Yeah, for what day?
April 26th, please. Actually, one person has a shellfish allergy and another is vegetarian.
And then do we have a preference on seating? Would you like a booth, window table, or enclosed patio outside?
A window table would be perfect, if that's available.
Perfect, so I have the reservation set for Saturday, April 26th.
Just imagine, the AI makes 100 calls to buy an NVIDIA 5090 chip for you. How convenient is that? Have you thought about AI creating personalized videos for you based on your interests? Say, I want to see how calamansi and pistachio-crusted codfish is cooked in a video. The Super Agent first researches the recipe, then it uses the video generation tool to create video clips for each step. Then, it uses its audio generation tool to generate sound effects for each clip. Here's the final reel. How cool is that? Anyone can create their own video without knowing a single thing about video editing software. How about using Super Agent to create a South Park-style episode based on news last week? The AI picked the viral Signalgate controversy. Now, It's fleshing out the complete script. And then it decides to use its video generation tool to produce video clips for each scene. Now, Super Agent uses its text-to-speech models to generate voices. The finished episode runs about 1.5 minutes, so I'll jump ahead to highlight some of my favorite moments.
Did you guys see the news about that defense guy who texted their war plans to some reporter? I think the government wants us to think they're stupid, so our enemies underestimate us. It's called strategic incompetence.
You're being outperformed by a child, a fat child.
GenSpark Super Agent is designed for everyone, every day. If you're a marketer, find influencers and create engaging outreach campaigns. If you're a math teacher, visualize complex formulas in 3D. If you're a recruiter, compare candidates' LinkedIn profiles to find the perfect hire. If you're a tech enthusiast, turn a 5-hour YouTube interview into concise slides. If you're a designer, create St. Patrick's Day posters from Mercedes-Benz. If you're a music industry analyst, track global streaming patterns and write a report. So why does GenSpark Super Agent work better? The secret is there are 3 key innovations working together. Large language models, toolsets, and datasets. They make GenSpark Super Agent fast, reliable, and super steerable. Solving these real-world problems is much harder than we thought, but we are super excited about the progress we have made so far. GenSpark Super Agent is for everyone and everyday tasks. Try GenSpark.ai today.
Okay, let's dive straight into the walkthrough. I've spent some time playing around with GenSpark, comparing it to Manus, specifically looking how it might help us with our initial phase of market research for our ICP. When you've signed into GenSpark, this is what it looks like. Fairly similar to what we've seen, however, they've got a different look and feel. So this is what the homepage of GenSpark looks like once you've signed in. It's very similar to what we are used to within all of these different models and agents. But most importantly, what they have that's a bit different is all of these different tabs. So the same way you would in your browser scroll around, opening up new windows, etc., they've got a similar structure happening inside of here, and you can go deep into what these looks like, read about it, and move around within. So one of the specific things that I would say separates them from what we currently have in the market, this seems almost very similar to a Google Studio, but just the way that they've categorized all the web opportunities that you could explore. For example, if you look at an article about Microsoft's current fallout with the Minecraft movie, you can look at it here, and it almost gives it a bit of a blog look and feel with only the most important highlights of it. And then from there, you can go straight, and it takes you straight through to the site itself, which I think is extremely handy and beneficial, especially if you just scroll through and look at the most updated news and articles. But that's not why we're here, right? So like I said, we tested the ICP research. Now I'm going to share with you what we did at Manus. Basically, the context here is going to be exactly the same within both platforms. Right, so after giving Manus the information, Manus mentioned here that I'll help you with extensive research on founders, coaches, and consultants based on the questions you've mentioned. Let me first check the attachment you've provided to understand exactly what you'd like me to research. Again, there's the attachment. So you can see it goes through it, reads and analyzes, then creates a search. Again, tapping into the different sections of the document itself. What I appreciated about Manus is that it also went into not just the articles, but for example, it goes into LinkedIn. And if you look at the article, what I did here, really spent some time thoroughly researching this. But one thing that I did not find specifically was it didn't move into comments, reviews, the same way that GenSpark did, which is highly crucial for those nuances. So we can take that into consideration as well with Reddit. There's nothing about Reddit that's on here from Manus' side. But looking at the output, completed an extensive research, looking at the final report, and it gives you a bit of a breakdown on all the specifics, right? Here's the executive summary. Quite fundamental. This report examines the complex relationship between coaches, consultants, and artificial intelligence, analyzing their fears, objections, pain points, and desires regarding AI adoption. Our research reveals that while these professionals recognize AI's potential benefits for efficiency and growth, they harbor significant concerns about its impact on the human elements of their practice or businesses. But it is a comprehensive report, and what I like is it does give us a lot of the quotes with the citations, but also giving us a bit more insights to how these founders communicate within those articles. Very comprehensive. Very good. Now, this took, I think it was roughly close to 800 credits just to get to this stage of research. Now, bear in mind, there's a lot of prior conversations that actually happened in order to fully understand exactly what it is that we're looking for. Now, let's move over to GenSpark. Here you would see there's literally nothing prior. I basically just told it the exact same. I wanted to do research on our ISP, founders, coaches, consultants. This is what we do. Gave our website. There's an ultimate master list of questions that you could use to guide your research via forms, LinkedIn posts, reviews, competitor case studies, and voice of customer interviews. Very fundamental, these questions, but the output, very good. So looking at the way that GenSpark does the research also shows you exactly what it does, but it is much more thorough than Manus. Here you can see exactly what it does, also reasons, explain to you exactly what it's doing at the time, going through all of that, also thinking, and then tapping into the research report. So you can see here with the introduction, understanding the attitudes and concerns, good executive summary, great info, shows us exactly where it got what with the citations, extremely thorough. And this is based on clear research, right? We saw this with Manus as well. Very good. What I found helpful about Manus as well is it gave us different aspects, right? So we've got the full-on research doc here, and then we have the fears that's mainly identified. We've got the objections. It's also looked at pain points, and then as well desires for growth and efficiency, multiple different documents, whereas with GenSpark, we only receive one thorough, let's say medium length document. So what I did now was I came to Gemini to help us find out the key differences, but also which one would be the best to take and run with. So again, I want you to compare the two research reports and tell me which one is more thorough based on our prompt. Then I gave the prompt exactly on what needed to happen. And then we have research report 1. Then I've got the full-on summary of Manus in here. Then we move into research report 2, which is GenSpark. So let's take a look at what Gemini is saying, which report is better to go with. Right, guys, so after Gemini thought about this, it shared some good feedback. So let's look at it. So after comparing the two reports based on your initial prompt and assess which one is more thorough and beneficial for Scale.io, the analysis says that both reports do a commendable job of structuring their findings around the core categories outlined in your prompt. They both utilize external source and quotes to substantiate their points. So from Manus, again, structurally follows a formal research report structure, etc. Content focus deep dives into the category, providing specific insights and takeaways within subsections. The analysis primarily focuses on the mindset and challenges of the coaches and consultants. The recommendations are directed at the coaches and consultants on how they should approach AI. The strengths of Manus within our research process, it's clear with a formal structure, as we just saw. It's explicit. It's good with insights because it provides clear analysis within each theme. It provided us with actionable recommendations. Formal numbered reference, easy to follow and verify. This is important, the verify aspect, especially if you're doing market research. You don't just want to go off fluff. You want to get real articles, real comments, real feedback. You don't just want to hallucinate those. Weaknesses. Focuses heavily on coaches and consultants with less explicit mention of founders. Now, this is important. This is very, very important. As we mentioned, founders, coaches, and consultants. And hopefully what the research can provide us is how those three identities overlap. What are similar, what are not, and their positioning within. Another weakness is the recommendations require translation to be directly useful for scale IO strategy, as they advise the ICP directly. Another weakness is date seems to be a placeholder, but is technically in the future relative to the current date. So let's look at report 2, GenSpark. Structure is fairly similar, does the same thing. And as we see here, the references are embedded as inline citation and links, not necessarily with the formal structure of Manus. We get them all at the bottom. So those are usually easier to just quickly copy and paste instead of going through each and every aspect of the research and gathering those for sure. Content focus addresses the core categories, often using subheadings similar to what we have at Manus. Those are all good. What I liked about here is the insights and all the research that it's done. It still keeps the main business into consideration. So we provide AI solutions for founders, coaches, and consultants. The main thing here is that if the research is done, but that's not fully taken into account based on what we do, which is all on the website, we're going to need to do more work in order to get it more precise and tailored towards our solutions and the ICP. So taking that into consideration, it continuously keeps that, which I really like. And then the strengths directly addresses a target audience. So you see it got all three from the start, explicitly links the research back to, again, scale, like we just spoke about throughout, especially in the introduction and the dedicated key research insights section. Addresses some very specific objections from the prompt list directly. Here's another good one. The insights section provides direct strategic takeaways for the agency, covers core themes thoroughly. Weaknesses. Okay, inline citation style, like we just discussed, I 100% agree that's not ideal. It lacks an executive summary for a quick review. Not sure if it does. I mean, looking at, let's see exactly what it provided us with. Yeah, this is just the same document. Yeah, fair enough. Lacks an executive summary for a quick overview. Yes, it basically gave us an introduction. It didn't really tap into the executive summary. That's something we could have prompted. However, that taps into the formal aspect of Manus, right? So depending on the type of motive that you have in getting an output, that is important to take note of. And the last weakness that it mentions here is, while structured by the theme, the analysis within the subsections might feel slightly less systematically presented as Manus's insight points here. It's good, but comparison on thoroughness, coverage of prompt categories, both reports are thorough in covering the required categories. Fears-based, okay. Addresses specific questions, both addresses the underlying sentiments of the specific questions. GenSpark gets a slight edge for tackling some explicit objections. Those are good feedback. Depth of analysis. Manus offers concise insights after presenting the evidence, providing a structured mini-analysis. And GenSpark's analysis is woven into the text, into the specific insights of scale. Relevance to ICP. GenSpark is slightly more consistent in referencing the full ICP spectrum, including founders, which is great, where Manus leans more heavily on coaches and consultants. Didn't really take the founders into consideration, as we spoke earlier. Actionability for scale, which is ultimately the outcome here, right? Is how would this work in relation to what we do and our positioning in the marketplace? So GenSpark is significantly more thorough in translating the research into direct actionable insights for scale. Manus' thoroughness is directed more towards understanding the ICP's perspective for the ICP's benefit. Very interesting, hey? Very, very interesting. It doesn't fully comprehend what that would look like in practice from an outcome standpoint for the agency. It just focuses on the task at hand. It's good feedback. Which one is more thorough and beneficial? Both reports are thorough in researching topics outlined in the prompt. However, report 2, which is GenSpark, is more beneficial and arguably more thorough for the specific purpose outlined. So good. Very, very helpful, as we now just discussed. Let's look at the GAIA benchmark in comparison to the other types of models. Now, I'm not sure if you can see at the bottom, but it says comparative data from OpenAI's deep research, Manus and other systems were structured from official websites. GenSpark was evaluated in automatic multi-turn conversation mode as it differs from other one-shot systems. This methodology more accurately reflects real-world usage scenarios in which users engage in interactive dialogue with AI assistants. Right. So looking at GenSpark, definitely is currently on level 1. It's outperforming. Level 2, still outperforming. And level 3, in comparison to Manus, just on the normal GAIA stats, it's performing better overall, which is interesting.